Welcome back to Myth and Mind. Today's episode, we are going to reflect on a film I recently watched, 28 years later. I believe it will still be in theaters for a while if you want to see it, although I will warn you, it's brutal, graphic, sometimes hard to watch at certain parts. It's a zombie movie, part of a long-running series about a virus that spreads rapidly, turning humans into violent, feral versions of themselves. Um, on the surface, of course, it is a zombie film, like I said, but beneath the horror, it carries a surprisingly rich psychological and symbolic story. This particular film in the series is a lot about illusion, evil, trauma, and the fragile persistence of hope, which we're going to talk about today. When the film opens, we meet a solitary man living in the countryside. His name is Ian. He has created a defensible space near a quiet stream. It's very isolated, almost monastic, like a monk. He lives among trees that are wrapped in clean bones that he collects and creates into these monuments to the dead. Ian is a doctor. He has scavenged what he can in terms of medications, including sedatives, antipsychotics, antivirals, anything that he can find in terms of curing the virus or protecting against it. His entire body is stained orange with iodine. It's a ritual of protection as well as a desperate attempt to sterilize himself against contamination. This detail of his orange skin is important to the story. The iodine is not just a disinfectant. Symbolically, it is containment, a sort of chemical boundary between the chaos of this world and himself. Ian represents a particular response to the collapse of society in his refusal to abandon care and hope. Even when society has fallen apart, he still believes that the mind can be treated, the body can be treated, and that violence may have causes, and that humanity is not entirely lost. Near Ian's land roams a massive, terrifying figure, a partially infected man, not fully zombified, but feral, violent, and highly dominant. He leads other infected humans like a pack. Ian does not kill him, instead, he studies him. Through careful sedation and experimentation, Ian begins to suspect that the virus may not be purely biological, that there may be a psychotic component, and that the infected may be attacking because they perceive a threat where none actually exists. This is also very important to the story. It's looking at the idea that psychosis at its core is not evil. It is simply fear without context. Often, and in this film's case, the psychosis is manifesting itself as a hallucination. Ian administers a complex cocktail of medication, including antipsychotics, and slowly it starts to work. He also talks to the man. He names him Samson, starts having conversations and spending time with him while Samson is sedated. And they listen to music. Ian has a record player. And they dance around and they basically get high together and hang out. Um, Over time, Samson starts to become cured, regain his humanity, become verbal again, and toward the end, he actually starts to get some memories back. Samson becomes living proof that the monster was never purely monstrous, that beneath the violence was distortion, terror, and confusion of the mind. This is one version of evil portrayed in the film, not a supernatural force, but a tangible human that was pushed beyond its limits. Running parallel to Samson's story is a far darker response to the collapse. A group of young Satanists are also roaming the countryside. They attack, kidnap, recruit, torture. Their leader is called Jimmy, and Jimmy believes himself to be the son of Satan. Not metaphorically, but he literally is teaching the followers that his authority is valid because he is the son of Satan. He calls his followers the fingers of Satan as extensions of his will. But we end up learning more about Jimmy's actual past when he meets Ian. He tells Ian that he grew up in a church. His real father was a vicar, a holy man, and that when the virus first struck, Jimmy was a child of 8 or 9 years old. He hid inside the church while his family was killed outside. Jimmy's Satanism in this context is perhaps explained by the trauma and his mind searching for meaning within all of it. Where Ian responds to the collapse of society by healing, Jimmy responds to it by constructing illusion and practicing sadistic power games with other humans. If the world is chaotic, Jimmy will become its god. If authority has failed, he will replace it. So this is the second version of evil portrayed in the film. Identity built on domination, control, and fear. When Jimmy's followers spot Ian, they misunderstand what they see. An orange-skinned man surrounded by bones, a tamed demon at his side, Samson. They believe that Ian is Satan. Jimmy has told them that if they are brutal enough, faithful enough, that they will meet the devil in person one day. And so they think that they have. When Jimmy goes to speak to Ian alone before bringing his followers to meet him, Ian, understanding the psychology of the situation, agrees to perform and pretend that he is the devil. He stages an elaborate illusion, including fire, makeup, loud metal music, and theatrics. He becomes this vision of the devil for them. And for a moment, this illusion stabilizes the chaos. But illusion cannot survive contact with truth. Ian recognizes one of the masked children, a missing family member of his, a little boy who was never meant to be there, never meant to be part of the Satanist group. At that moment, the performance ends, and Ian decides to turn the illusion against itself. He tells the followers to turn on Jimmy, and ultimately, many of them are killed. But it leaves you wondering if this is what false certainty may always lead to: ritualized destruction. Before that collapse, earlier in the movie, there was a quieter scene where Ian and Jimmy sit beside the stream and talk. No masks, no fire, no gods. Jimmy speaks of the past. Ian reflects on life before the virus. There was a sense of order, he says, a certainty that life made sense. And then after it ended, that certainty never returned. Only uncertainty remained. This moment brings Samson and Jimmy together symbolically. Samson lost his humanity to distorted perception, and then found it again through the care that Ian shows him. Jimmy lost his humanity through trauma, and then replaced it with illusion. Both were responding to fear, but one of them healed and the other consumed. Despite everything, the film does not abandon hope. A pregnant woman character survives, a future that is carried through devastation in her unborn child. The young boy finds loyalty and protection in an unexpected place. And right at the end of the film, a father is seen teaching his daughter history and democracy from behind safe walls while the world outside remains broken and overrun with zombies. Civilization does not return all at once in this film world. It returns in fragments through teaching, care, restraint, not in certainty, but in a sense of responsibility and humanity. 28 years later suggests something that I find deeply mythic. Evil often begins as fear. Illusion grows where certainty collapses. And hope survives not through domination, but through conscious care. The question is not whether the world will fall apart, because it always does eventually. The question is, what will we build in the ruins? If you have enjoyed this episode of Myth and Mind, please be sure to like, share, and subscribe. And if you are interested in checking out the film, or you've already seen it, let me know down in the comments what your thoughts are. See you next time.